What if the moment your life feels like it is falling apart isn't a failure at all, but a signal? What if the confusion and restlessness that often show up around midlife are unsigns that something went wrong, but signs that something real is finally beginning? And what if everything you were taught to fear about turning 40 was actually backwards? The famous psychologist Carl Jung believed something radical. He said that life doesn't truly begin when we're young. He believed it begins at 40. Before then, we're just doing research. At first, that idea sounds strange. After all, society tells us the exact opposite. Youth is where life happens. It's all about energy, ambition, and endless possibility. By the time you reach your 40s, the story goes, your best years are behind you. You're supposed to settle down and accept that your options are shrinking. The phrase midlife crisis itself implies a breakdown, as if questioning your life at that age is a problem to be fixed. But Jung saw something very different happening just beneath the surface. He believed that the first half of life is all about building a functional identity. In our 20s and 30s, we're focused on figuring out how the world works and where we fit in. We work hard to establish ourselves. We chase education, careers, and relationships. We absorb expectations from our family and culture, and we shape ourselves to meet them. We learn how to perform, how to succeed, and how to belong. This phase isn't a mistake. Jung said it's necessary. We need an ego strong enough to function in the world. The problem isn't that we build this outer life. The problem is believing that it's all there is. Because around midlife, something subtle starts to shift. The achievements that once motivated you don't feel as satisfying anymore. The identity you worked so hard to build starts to feel tight, like clothes that no longer fit. You may have done everything right, followed the rules, met expectations, built a good life, yet something inside feels restless or empty. There's a nagging sense that you're living someone else's script. Jung saw this pattern again and again in his patients. People would come to him in their 40s, successful on paper, but inwardly lost. One man, a respected lawyer with a family and a nice home, confessed that despite having everything he thought he wanted, he felt hollow. "I've done everything I was supposed to," he said, "and I still feel nothing." Jung listened, then told him, "You've built a beautiful house for your outer self, but now your soul is knocking from the cellar, asking to be let in." This captures the essence of the transition Jung believed happens around 40. The first half of life is about constructing the house, building your identity, and earning your place in the world. But the house alone can't shelter the soul forever. Eventually, the parts of you that were pushed aside start to demand recognition. This is why midlife often feels so destabilizing. The ego, which was perfect for the first half of life, starts to lose its grip. The goals that once defined you no longer carry the same meaning. We interpret this shift as failure, but Jung insisted it wasn't. He believed this discomfort was a summons, a call from your unconscious mind, signaling that your psyche is ready to evolve. In the first half of life, our energy is directed outward. We're focused on becoming somebody. In the second half, the task changes. The question becomes, who are you beneath the performance? What parts of you were ignored in the pursuit of success? This is where many people get stuck. Instead of listening inward, they try to double down on the old strategies. They chase more achievement, more validation, more distraction, but the psyche doesn't respond well to being ignored. The discomfort often shows up as anxiety, depression, or a persistent sense of emptiness. Jung saw these not as pathologies, but as messages. He believed that at midlife, your psychological center of gravity shifts from the external world inward. What once energized you, you feel a kind of fatigue that rest doesn't fix, not physical fatigue, but existential fatigue. From Jung's perspective, this isn't decline, it's an initiation. The first half of life is about adapting to the world. The second half is about adapting to yourself. And that adaptation begins by confronting a difficult truth. The identity you built is not the same as who you are. That realization can be unsettling, but it also opens the door to something rare: authenticity. For the first time, you're invited to live not according to what's expected, but according to what's real. As the second half of life unfolds, the noise of constant striving begins to quiet down. In that quiet, new signals emerge. Thoughts you once pushed aside return. Old interests resurface. Your inner world starts speaking in a different language. Jung believed the psyche begins to communicate through symbols, not just logic. Dreams become more vivid. Emotions deepen. Your intuition grows stronger. You might find yourself moved by art or nature in ways you can't easily explain. These aren't random. Jung saw them as expressions of the unconscious, guiding you toward wholeness. He famously wrote that a dream is a small hidden door to the deepest sanctum of the soul. In the first half of life, that door stays mostly closed, till, in the second half, it opens. A patient of his, a very rational man, kept dreaming of standing at the edge of a vast, silent sea. Jung interpreted the sea as a symbol of the man's emotional depth in the inner world he had never explored. The dream wasn't a threat, it was an invitation. Another major task of midlife, according to Jung, is integrating opposites. In early life, we tend to identify with one side of ourselves and reject the other. Strength over vulnerability, logic over intuition. The parts we reject don't disappear. They sink into what Jung called the shadow. In midlife, the shadow demands attention. A man who built his identity on being tough may feel cut off from emotion. A woman who devoted herself to caring for others may feel disconnected from her own ambitions. Coldness comes from allowing both sides to coexist. As you reclaim these oppressed parts, life begins to feel fuller and more real. Alongside this, spiritual questions often emerge. Not necessarily religious, but questions of meaning. What is this all for? What do I want to give, not just achieve? Jung noticed that people in midlife become less concerned with climbing higher and more concerned with living honestly. Our time begins to feel precious, not because it's running out, but because it finally feels like it belongs to you. Life stops feeling like a race and starts feeling like a conversation, a dialogue between who you've been and who you're re-becoming. This is why Jung rejected the idea that midlife is decline. He saw it as a rebirth, return to the self, a moment when the soul, after waiting patiently for decades, finally steps forward and says, "Now it's my turn." This is the deeper truth behind Jung's statement that life begins at 40. Not because age magically brings wisdom, but because at this stage, you're finally invited to live as a whole person. The question is no longer how to succeed, but how to be true. Not how to impress, but how to align. Not how to become somebody, but how to become yourself. And perhaps the most important question of all is not what comes next, but what part of you is waiting to return. Because the second half of life is not about adding more, it's about reclaiming what was always yours. Thanks for watching.